Oh, thank goodness. Okay. So I'm Kendall Colombo. I am in charge of ASB as well as other things. And we attached a letter in the board packet tonight just asking you guys to vote on some things. But we have done a lot this year. We have had a dance already. We have another dance planned for February 9th. It's going to be, what's our theme?
Night in Paris.
A night in Paris. And we are going to do 3 dances this year. So we're going to do a 3rd dance sometime in May. And we're just super excited about it. We've sold some candygrams for Halloween. We had a Halloween pep rally. And our letter kind of includes things we want to be able to continue to do for the school. My plan is to just let each of our officers introduce themselves and say the position that they hold in ASB so that you recognize them too. So go ahead.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Mendoza, and I'm your 8th grade president.
Come up here, and then we'll take a picture of all of you at the end. The other one, please come up here too.
Hi, my name is Juliana Richard, and I'm your 7th grade president.
Hi, my name is Israel Rodriguez, and I'm your 8th grade vice president.
My name's Finley Devine, and I'm the 7th grade vice president.
Hi, my name is Jessie Donlin, and I'm the 8th grade school secretary.
Hi, my name is Cadence Contreras, and I am the spirit ambassador.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Labung, and I'm the public relations coordinator.
I'm Gianna Narciso, and I'm the sports ambassador.
I'm Eden Powell, and I'm the treasurer.
Nice job. Yeah. That's right. Okay, that's fine. I mean, they prepared to talk if you guys had questions. But basically, our letter to you guys was needing to vote on being able to sell candygrams during the school day because I think it was Noreen and some other people went to an ASB conference. I was unable to because there is a substitute shortage going on. But one of the big responses was that the school board does need to vote if any food items are going to be purchased within the hours of a school day and sold for monetary value. And since we do sell candygrams, that's one of our big fundraisers, it does need to happen during lunch or activity within our school day, and therefore would require a vote by the school board. Dances do tend to be a fundraiser. We do end up getting some donations from the Amram family and other local businesses for the dance. So selling the dance tickets during the day would also be incurring a monetary value, which is why I put that in there. But we also just wanted to let the board know what we were doing and make sure we had approval moving forward for all the things we have planned. Yeah?
Any questions from the board? No? We approve candygrams?
Thank you guys.
I'll move the, what was the exact motion? Hang on a second. I'll
Action
move to
7.6.
approve the BVMS ASB fundraiser plan for the current academic year.
Second? I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0-1. You guys are all set. Thank you all for coming. Okay, let's do a couple of.
You want to get? Unless you want to stick around for the whole meeting, you're welcome. Now's your. Yeah, there you go.
I thought they might want to stay for the board member comments.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
No, so.
Well, since everybody's going out, we have no representative.
Bye. Bye, guys. Good
Thank
seeing
you. Okay, I'll assume that we have no bargaining unit presentations. Okay. Board member comments. Steve?
Happy New Year. And communication.
Peter?
Same thing. Happy New Year.
Stephanie?
So I hope everybody is still enjoying winter break for the next day, right? For the students. So just one thing that I wanted to note. So I'm really excited to see the fundraising committee has been formed for 6th grade science camp at BV to try to reduce the cost of the cost to families for science camp. And so I think it sounds like, and maybe Dr. Terrell, you can confirm. So we've looked into the LCAP, and there are some funds that we're able to use to cover some of the costs for students. Is that
You're
correct?
right. We factored in 20% unduplicated students, and so we have a number for any of those families that need support. But there might be more than that.
Sure. So we can, as we kind of start piecing together how we can provide support, that's one place we can
Yeah.
start pulling from. Okay, perfect. And then it sounds like we're going to try to do some more fundraising as well in order to support the students. So can we confirm if there's a 401c3 or nonprofit entity that we have so that we can help funnel those funds
for parents that
for
might
people
want
to be
to, for
able
example, like provide a
Tax-
scholarship for another student. We can look at whatever resources we have for that.
So
It's
that
out in the
it-
past. Parents have been very, very generous, and in addition to their child, they said we'd like to sponsor another child. So, what that vehicle is, we'll find out.
Right. So, well, and if we go out and potentially ask for additional sponsorships, they can get that tax.
Okay, we'll look into it.
Okay. And then, one more comment about, and then I hope too, just as we move forward in supporting these students around something as important as science camp, which I really believe, all students who want to go should be able to go, that we institutionalize what we're doing so that it's not just by year and then potentially relying on whoever is in that cohort, that we institutionalize it so that it's something that families can.
Yeah, it was
rely on.
a
And the
standing
students.
tradition for 10, 20, 30 years before COVID.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully we'll get that back.
Great.
Yeah, it's important because my year was the only year that didn't go to science camp in
Really?
the 6th grade. The 6th grades before us, 6th grades after us, and we didn't get to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And it sticks with you. You remember that,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, it's traumatic.
And it wasn't COVID. What was the reason? Do you know? Do you remember?
It wasn't Governor Schwarzenegger.
No, it wasn't my fault. That's all I want to say. Okay, oral and written communications. We got a lovely card from Sylvia and Leon Panetta and the board of the Panetta Institute, so I will pass that down. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, superintendent report.
Just a happy new year too. Hope everybody had a rejuvenating and wonderful time with their families. I feel rejuvenated, feel good. Looking forward to 2024. Everybody has a favorite number. Mine's 24, so I'm expecting magic in this year. I mean, you have it, right? You only get it one time, 24.
And we have a training tomorrow?
And we have a training tomorrow, yes. I'll share more when we get to the committee report, but this is an extension of our equity work last year.
Kristen?
Yeah, I don't really have anything since our last board meeting, but I am really excited about the training that is planned for tomorrow. And then our staff is going to have some time in the afternoon after that to debrief about it and to look over their curriculum maps and their guides for the year to see what kinds of just to look at the equity that we have in terms of the reading material that we offer to our students And so I think it's going to lead to some really rich discussions. And this is something that's come up at school site council meetings from parents. And so there were some students at that school site council meeting as well who affirmed what the parents were saying about wanting to look into more diversity in our curriculum. So I think these are great discussions that we're having right now.
Great, thank you. Yeah, do I need to force people up to the podium? Okay. Okay, I will start from now. You, podium.
I just want to say Happy New Year. I'm also excited about the calendar New Year and what's to come for the rest of the school year. We had a good December and a really fun last week and Spirit Week and all kinds of good things going on. And I asked Dr. Terrell to send you our newsletter to make sure you all got it. And so that pretty much says it all.
The 12 Days of Christmas.
Yeah, it was great. So all the pictures and our special visit from Santa with the fire department, and it was really cool. So it was a nice way to launch the kids off to the holidays.
Great, Bria, see how much influence I have on these people.
But I'm done.
Okay. All right. Anything from SUF, PTO, BV? I would imagine any of those have met. Program updates. Bernard, take us through.
Facilities. Andy, did you want to?
There's not really. I mean, science school project is, everything's approved. We're just waiting for it to give us a schedule when they're going to start. So
Yeah, and it's getting real.
Really
They
close.
finally got a hold of us and at our behest to start having at least bi-weekly meetings with the project manager. So that means all the ducks are lined up now and it's going to start really hitting the ground running. So now it'll be much more prominent action getting taken place with that we'll be able to give you regular updates.
Great.
With that, with food service. With food service, obviously with the break, not a lot going on there. Our biggest challenge there really is not having a full-time driver to be able to go and get that. And so Andy has to lend staff to go and do that. And that's what, about 2 hours a day?
2 hours every day.
Every day, that's getting taken away from other duties. But it is, that is where we're at right now. And it's in large part just because of the unfortunate situation we had with the combo driver. And hopefully we get this all rectified in the future and get that back on track. But that is, again, we're kind of beholden to not only that position, but decreasing services coming from Salinas City as well that we need to address as they kind of want to slowly start to push us out to the margin even more. So that's that. And then with transportation, same thing. I mean, we need drivers. We need to get creative on how we get drivers. I spoke with the county office, when was that, Eric? Maybe back in
A couple months ago.
September, October, about them possibly doing something county-wide where similar program to what they did up in Santa Cruz County.
Yeah.
They basically had a program where they provided free training for drivers. And then, of course, a job fair that came out of that. It was Pajaro. Now, they needed 20 drivers. So they had to do something at that level. We don't have the funding to be able to compensate that for the instruction and all of that. But if we can get the county to foot a large portion of that and then have other districts, because we're all looking for drivers, pay a portion into it and then possibly like a draft for hiring people so that one entity doesn't get to come in and say, I've got the biggest pay, I'm going to take you all. So something like that, trying to get creative to try to find a solution, because otherwise, I don't know, it's a statewide problem. On my monthly program that I go to with CBOs, everybody's hurting right now with drivers, and nobody really has an answer because people just don't want to go into that profession anymore. So we got to figure something out. And that's it. That's my updates.
Okay. Any questions for Bernard? No? Fund balance. Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know
Remember,
what my
you're
signs
supposed
are.
to hit me.
I don't wanna
Go ahead.
hit you. Quick question. So regarding the food service, and I know you've mentioned this a couple times in the recent months about kind of Salinas pushing, starting to, separate themselves a little bit. When do we start thinking about what our other options are? When do we start?
I think now is the time.
Okay.
It's actually one of the questions, or two questions on the survey. The facility survey went to staff right before. So far, we got 35 responses, so you'll get a reminder to please fill it out. And there's definitely specific food service questions that would drive priority.
Okay.
And that's the idea of having this survey is like, what are the district's priorities, and if it emerges, then in addition to.
Yeah, the biggest problem is we don't have the facilities to do it ourselves.
But we're not going to have those by.
And we're not going to have them
August
anytime
this
soon,
year.
even if we go with another bond, right? It would be years from now. So we need to start looking at what our alternatives are and start talking to people and see who may actually want us, to be partners with them.
The county has I'll call it a somewhat robust program for the Head Start program as far as food services goes, and then they ship that off in vans. And I know we can't be the only district that's in a similar predicament. I think of Graves School, for example, and some of the South County, one building, the superintendent's probably teaching type districts or something like that. Maybe, just maybe, there's some arrangement that could be made with MCOE to jump on that somehow, and maybe they can help us out.
I think that's a great idea. They have a kitchen.
Okay.
And again, transportation and drivers that take stuff out. That's how they get food to
Yeah,
a lot
so-
of the special ed sites.
So they might be able to scale up for older kids.
As
I
well.
don't know. But
Yeah.
it's something to check out.
Yeah, and in the past they did. They scaled back for a while. And
Oh, they
then,
did?
And then Head
I didn't
Start
know that.
came
Alright.
back. Yeah,
Well,
so
there you go. Alright.
it's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay, fund balance report. And thanks for the new forms. They're easier for me to read with my old eyes.
Yeah, and so and the big thing is again being able to make actionable decisions off of the data, right? And I think we've still got a little ways to go. That's where I want, where hopefully you guys can instruct me with more particulars of what you'd like to see at any given time. But as you see here, it's kind of just following that same trend. Our revenues are kind of starting to even out and catch up with other past years for this time of the year. The thing that's a little concerning, or could be concerning, if you look down all the way down at the bottom in net surplus deficit, and you notice a pretty steep decline from 2021, where at this time of the year, we had a net surplus of almost 1.1 million. And now we're trending down year after year. Now we're down at 433. And that's a combination of a couple things. One is a lot less of that COVID money that was just kind of thrown out there, as well as our declining enrollment. So, this coupled with, as we've talked about in the past, can somebody hit the, okay? I don't know, it's not on my end. They did this last time to us, right?
That's probably supposed to hit no, right?
Cancel.
Try no next time.
Yeah.
It's public information, it's out there, we all have
That's
it,
right.
so you can continue.
Yeah. So that trend, along with where we're headed budget-wise, isn't necessarily all doom and gloom. It's a good opportunity for us to sharpen our pencils, look at our processes, get more efficient with things on how we do them, which will pay dividends down the road. Yeah, there might be some short-term pain involved with that. There always is for somebody or someone or some program. But we can use this as an opportunity to really take those hard looks where we didn't have to 4 years ago because we were kind of flush in cash. We had all this money. We didn't even know how to spend it all. Those are the types of things that, can be really good, and that's where your role will be instrumental in being able to help shape that and where we go with those things as we bring ideas to you and programs and our findings. So that's, I guess I just want to leave a message of a little bit of hope as we start off this new year, even though it's going to be difficult going forward for the next year or so. There's a lot of good that could come out of this in the long term. So,
Good for you. Give us hope, yeah. I like it.
see the arrow to the that little arrow down, little down arrow up.
Under chromium.
Right there in that box. Under chromium. Nope, the other one.
Knows what
The
they're
down
doing.
arrow.
Thank you. I don't do. You should see me with the
Now
the
scroll
remote
it.
control. See you guys throw it.
Scroll
You do
down.
it, kid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and hit the arrow
See?
back. See where it says back up top like a browser? Now, just hit that little arrow again.
That arrow.
Now just put your hand in there like it's a tablet
Put
and
my
slide
hand
it
in
up.
there
Yeah.
like it's a
Yeah,
tablet.
just put your fingers in there and touch the screen and pull up. Slide up.
Oh, I see. Like
Just like a
that.
tablet. That's okay. That's okay.
Thank you. Made me feel so much better, honestly.
I can just turn it off.
Yeah.
Grandma's napping at all of us. That's good. Yeah, I need some training. But you also didn't know what you were looking for. No, I had no idea. Yeah. I got you, boo. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm glad it was just me.
Yeah, it's like when the guys come out to unlock your car, and I want them just to take a little while to unlock it,
Yeah.
like it's hard, right?
Yeah. Here you go. Yeah.
So again, here we are with the expenditures. So again, this looks like a mirror of the last 4 or 5 months. Nothing's really changed here. We are starting to really monitor the expenses much more diligently. And so I've been working on the break on taking the data out of Escape, our financial system, putting it into spreadsheets so it's much more usable, for instance, for Andy, because that's where we're doing a lot of work right now.
Yeah.
So we decided that'd be the first area that we would start with. So hopefully we'll get some good things there. Again, it's all about identifying which of these expenditures are absolutely necessary and start to tighten it as we lead into budget development for next year and the end of this year and negotiations and all of these things that we still have to deal with.
I appreciate the graphs, though. It helps me remember not just to focus on this year's budget, but to look at it across time.
Yeah,
So,
and that was the
something.
idea, was to show you just trends so you have something to compare it to. Otherwise, what do you do? Net funding balances, this one's just an interesting one.
Mhm.
Looks like even years, seem to have, at this time of year, much higher fund balances. I'm not really sure what that is. I haven't had time to really get in and see if there's really anything there or not, but it's just kind of interesting. And that's that. And then we can go straight into the next one if you'd like to.
Thanks.
Yep. So I promised at the last meeting when we went over the first interim that I would redo and get back to you with a cleaned up version of our statement of excess reserves. And that's what we have here. So up top, not really anything changed. What did change is there's some small changes here to the revenue side, but not much on the restricted programs. But then when we get down here is where you would have noticed quite a bit of change. Let me get it a little bit smaller so you can see it, if I can get it to work. There we go. Okay, so all the items that have that little asterisk in the right-hand column, what that's basically telling you is that the use is already intended. There's not really a whole lot of flexibility with those funds. We pretty much have identified what we're going to do with it, when we're going to do it. It's just a matter of getting around to actually doing it. The kind of the catch-all, that blue line really is signifying that's where all the additional funds kind of go towards facilities. That's our most flexible area. But obviously with some of the big repairs that we've had this year and things going on, we got to be really mindful that we may need that. Also, we are still carrying the 10% reserve. There's no hard and fast rule. The only thing we're obligated to do is that 4%. You get you have to kind of roll those dice. Do you feel the state is going to come through for you in the event of a really serious fiscal crisis and not be able to give you the cash flow to be able to pay your bills for a couple of months? So that's why we carry a larger amount. But that's also an area where we might have some flexibility. If you were to drop that down to 7.5%, let's say, that might make some room for some of these adjustments that we need to look at. So just things to consider. It is an area that we can flex a little bit, but there's cost to doing that, right?
It's that having
peace of
faith,
mind.
It's that having faith in the state
That's
to
right.
bail us out. things that-
Exactly, and that can be a hard one sometimes. So this is the cleaned up version of that report. This one you can take as gospel for this point in time as we go forward. It'll get tightened up even more as the year goes on. Another thing that you may not know what this is, solar project inspections. We had to get two different types of inspectors for this project, for the solar project. One is the inspector of record, and they're the ones coming out checking, I guess, welds and.
No, that's
that's the lab.
Of record.
The lab of records.
Lab of record does all the structural stress testing and cement, PSI testing and welding inspections, and then the IOR is just like a regular building inspector. He comes and checks like the electrical connections and all that kind of stuff, all the non-structural type stuff.
And so those costs were not costs that were included as part of the financing. Those are those additional kind of costs, the fine print when you work on deals like that. Oh, hey, yeah, you need this type of inspector. Did you know you needed this one too?
Yeah, right, yeah.
So that's what those are. I did confirm that the underground storage tank item is from the old days when that was a transportation yard and hazmat got involved. And the tank got removed, but it had to sit for a long period of time. But they gave us that funding specifically to do something with that area. So if we were to put out pavers and some areas for parents to sit, because you see a lot of parents standing out there a lot of times in the mornings, something like that, beautification with that money. So that's there, and then the other really big item that, let's see here. If you look down here, the painting project, in the past, that was at $250,000. That doesn't even come close.
Yeah.
Right? So in talking with Andy, $600,000 is probably where we get without doing anything with the pavilion at BV. That's a whole beast on its own that's going to require I don't know what. And maybe that's one that gets delayed, possibly with a bond measure. Maybe that's one of the things that can be handled through something like that. But I was personally kind of shocked at how expensive painting can be, and it's because of all the prep work and labor hours, as Andy was explaining, that has to get done just to even prep it to paint it.
So that's a sexy item for the bond issue, right? Painting the pavilion.
Yeah, exactly.
Should reinstall the ACNR.
So that's your statement of excess funds, and then I redid the multi-year projection, just tightened it up. I had gotten, in my opinion, probably I still feel appropriately aggressive with some of the costs, but I wanted to make it a little more palatable and in line with published rates that are used in education. The numbers that I used were actually numbers from some economists that are out there. But the state, with school services, posts their dartboard every year, and they use stuff that's coming from economists as well. Theirs just tends to be a little more dated. So I brought down, down here, we actually have some of the key assumptions. So ADA, in the past, I know when you've gotten these projections, ADA was kept flat in future years, which can overinflate your income a little bit. So knowing that we have this downward trend, which is really closer to about 2.5%, I just went with a 1.5%, meaning that it's gonna start to decline, that we're doing measures to increase attendance on campuses, and get kids back to school. So it does have a 1.5% decline. Keeping all the other revenues, we just don't know what's going to happen with those right now, so just kept those as is. The big point when you look at this, though, this isn't what reality is going to be. We are not going to end up with these kind of deficits in the next 2 years. But what it means is we have to sharpen our pens, right? And that's where I was talking about getting creative and finding ways to operate more efficiently without harming services and obviously the education for our kids. And I believe there's lots of room for improvement everywhere we go, right? We can always improve. So that's the real charge, and that's really the message here is this is if we do nothing and we stay the same as we are today with our declining enrollment and the stated COLA, this is what we're going to end up at.
What COLA did you use?
I use 1%. Right now, they're still kind of holding steady to the 1.27 or so is the last one that I saw. I think that's around where the governor's numbers will be. I don't know if I buy it.
Yeah.
You know, so I'd rather be conservative on that, plan for a little bit worse, and then we celebrate a little bit later when we find out our numbers are better than the other way around. So that's what we are with that. Yeah, that consumer price index, 3.03, that's that stated one, and the 2.64 for the following year. The numbers that I've been seeing is next year's all going to average out around 4%, anywhere from high 3s to high 4s, depending on the month, based on the economist's projections right now. And then, of course, assuming that our interfund transfers, that 154 that you see there, which really is the general fund contribution to the cafeteria program, that just kind of stays about where it's at. And that's where we'll go. But you do see that we are starting to spend down that fund balance.
Yep.
And we just need to be mindful. It's not that we can't. There is a mantra that's out there that you use today's dollars on today's students, right? And we should be. But at the same time, we have to make sure we can pay the employees that serve them, you know, should things get really bad. But I'm not foreseeing that, and nobody's talking about that kind of doom and gloom, to be honest with you. So we might be able to hedge a little and, like I said, do something creative with some of the funds. So that's all I've got for you on that. And we've got our absence report. Again, I think we talked last time a little bit about this one. This is good data, really good data to have, although very noisy. This is a better representation of it if you want to just see, compare year to prior year. What we really should be monitoring, though, is our ADA and seeing where it's going, because that's all coming together, right? That's ultimately where attendance leads to, is to your ADA. It's a function of enrollment and attendance. So going forward, I'll work, you know, Jennifer's really good. We'll have her start throwing together some trend data for you where you can actually start comparing. And we can see, we don't know if we're in a decline or not. Maybe things are starting to smooth out. We don't really know by looking at this data. And so then there's Spreckels, same thing. Can't see it on this. There we go. Again, illness is way down at Spreckels. In fact, the only one that's up is the unexcused absences. Are up a little bit this year, looks like. And so again, that's just good data. If we're gonna to stem the loss of ADA, we're going to have to get really good at getting kids at school, one way or the other. Whether that's Saturday schools with makeup days, short-term independent study programs, whatever we got to do. There's ways to do that and get some of that money back that we're losing. And then just having the conversation with parents about how important it is that their child is there, especially in the K through 3, I think it is where it's really critical for reading. Huge impact from absence at that age.
So what's our average attendance rate?
Last time I looked,
it was like 94.7, 99.
Yeah, between there and 96%, it bounces a little bit, but we're kind of in that. We're much better than a lot of places.
Yeah.
But still room to make up. if you got up to that 98%, 97, 98.
When we get to the dashboard, you'll see that our chronic absenteeism rate is actually up. It was at 12%, now it's at 13, which is the wrong direction. That's a trend after COVID. It's like we have to something happened that we made attendance less important. Maybe it was 10-day quarantines. I don't know. The message we sent, right? Now we have to change that message again, how important it is. All the factors in the world, to be at grade level in third grade, these chronic absence kids they have half the chance. So it is messaging, and we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, and the makeup days, you have to balance. Can you get enough kids there to make up to even make it cost effective to have the staff there on a Saturday, right? But if you do fun things that are also learning, robotics, things at middle school or whatever, I'm not totally in touch with what they would want anymore. But that's the way that I see people around the state kind of trying to attack it, is doing that. And of course, again, short term for those kids that are out kind of chronically, having a short term independent study program ready to go. Hey, you're out for 10 days, kind of quarantining yourself or whatever. Well, guess what? You can still do your work as long as you're not down and out.
That's your signal. You put your finger on the
finger until you see the finger.
Then I'll know when you want to talk.
I wonder too if putting a dollar amount associated with our ADA, and like if we increase it by 2% or each day or something that can be digestible by families to see how we might be able to increase the amount of funds that we receive, because we know families, staff, everybody's always kind of hearing, well, there's not enough money for that, So this could be a way to pull in more funds to be able to, bring back more extracurricular activities after school, or this could be a conversation in the LCAP too about like if we could get more funds, where could we put it, what could we do? But
that's a good point. Years ago, it was like 33. I know it's a lot more now, but every absence was about $33 a day we lost.
Yeah, and we can put that back together and run those numbers and put some infographics on the website and mail them out in Parent Square.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good idea.
Town Hall.
Remember, we used to have a board member, Chris, who used to rant about whenever we got to 95 or lower, then he would do a rant about the importance of getting your kids to school during the school board meeting.
With that messaging, we'll kick it up in the new year.
Yeah. Okay. Quarterly report on non-Williams uniform complaints. Oh, I guess we need a motion to approve.
Move. Second.
Thank you.
Yeah, nothing happening there.
Yeah, you see it 4 times a year.
Yep.
No complaints is a good thing.
And then the other piece was just the one if you wanted to make any changes to the contact sheet. I think that was the action item. Correct.
Oh,
No, that's what Jennifer. I think
yeah,
she was
that's a little. I think that's down there with the
It's
director.
still
I mean, it looks.
information. It's still information. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So we got a motion for the non-Williams district. All in favor of approving this report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0-1. Okay. Now, a bunch of information that we have none. So, committee updates.
Kind of mentioned tomorrow is an extension of our equity committee. We have Dr. Terrell Sales from Pepperdine coming. A lot of excitement. And I kicked out kind of a description of what he'll be covering. It's inclusive instructional strategies, but basically he's going to make the point that whether it's special ed, English learner, we could reach the kids in class. These are first and foremost the regular ed kids, and we have support coming, but what are some instructional strategies that universally work for all kids? So it should be good. He sent me a bunch of his materials today, and they look. I think these are going to be really, really inspiring. Some of us that met with him on the Zoom, he just has a good vibe. So I'm hoping that will capture the room tomorrow.
Okay, we're starting when?
8:15 for bagels, and then 8:45, Dr. Sales takes the mic.
And
till 11:45.
I know, but
right here, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and safety committee, we'll be doing next Wednesday. We're completing our situational awareness with Kimball and Associates, and then through the MCOE, we set a date of I think February, one of our next professional development day for the behavioral and the digital training that we talked about, because we needed 6 hours. So we'll have a core group. Basically, that would be the group that if something happens, they mobilize to analyze the threat. So we'll do some work with him.
Great. Bernard, it's really difficult to concentrate on what he's saying when you're turning things upside down and sideways on the screen behind him.
I was getting dizzy myself. Couldn't get it right.
Okay, what do we need to do with the directory and the meeting calendar?
This is just kind of a follow-up after the organizational meeting, making sure all the information is correct, what we agreed to. Anything needs to be changed? In the past, sometimes people say, "Oh, that's my old email," or
that's right.
Is that right? Good. All right.
Agenda master calendar.
Based on the first Thursday of the year, this is what it looks like. Knowing that in June we'll have to set up another one for the LCAP.
Okay.
Are we really going to meet on July? Sober?
So historically, we unless we have a real urgent reason, usually
Right.
July we just kind of
Because
take
we
it
do
off.
2 in June, so
Yeah.
Well, that's especially in June.
Okay. Board protocols review.
Or is the
master calendar?
Yeah, and again, this is all this is the plan, but things change. For example, the dashboard came out later, so it's going to be tonight versus December.
Okay. That was in the packet, so.
Right.
You have anything, I'm sure you can just let Bernard know.
Yeah.
Okay. The protocol sheet.
We came up with this a while back. It's if the board thinks how you conduct a meeting needs any tweaking, whether it's physical setup, something about getting the red light on, brown or whatever. But this is just kind of a worksheet that if you feel you actually want to go through it item by item, or if people want to read it and share some ideas, this is where you would change how you run your meetings.
Yeah. Okay, what's the board's pleasure? Why don't we just take a look at it, and then if we have any feedback, we can bring it back. Okay. Annual records retention policy review.
Monica, we bring this every year, right? This is just required that there's different levels of records, and depending on the level, you have to keep them for every third year. So we just keep our policy up to date for that purpose.
Okay. And we don't need to vote on this or anything?
No.
Monica, you have any special words of wisdom for us on this item? No? Okay, well then we'll move on.
We're doing good.
Great. Dashboard.
Dashboard. So the California dashboard came out. Get the first.
Don't look at it, just talk.
Okay. Well, I need to. The California dashboard was created when they went to local control funding formula. Basically, the idea was you need to have accountability. You need to have public accountability. So the California dashboard, it's kind of evolved over the years. Now it's a color-coded system that basically shows what we're doing right, where we have areas to focus on and improve. It breaks it down to subgroups, so we could take a look at how specific kids are doing. Basically, it's transparency.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you're I guess, graded on as a district, and how are you doing? So if you go to the next one, basically there are 6 state indicators. For us, there's 4, because 2 are for graduation rate and college career.
Yeah.
NA for us. So the academic and there's a ELA, or English Language Arts indicator, and a math indicator. That comes directly from the CAS tests that are given in the spring. For kids 3rd grade through 8th, it's how many kids are at or above standard, and I'll show you that a little later. Then there's the English learner progress, and I'm so glad Mrs. Villarejo's here, because this is our best color of the year.
Our best color of the year.
And when you look at I kind of hinted at it a while back, because I kind of saw some of these stats before, that our English learners from prior year to what happened last year, it's really amazingly, it's just huge gains. Chronic absenteeism, I kind of hinted at. Chronic absenteeism is when a student is gone for 10% of the year for any reason, sick, vacation, whatever. As Bernard kind of mentioned, a lot of studies show that chronically absent students, it catches up with you, whether it's in third grade, middle school, dropping out of college. So if you go to the next one, to make sense of this, it's a color code system. Actually, it's going back to color. Last year, it looked kind of like a gas tank.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was because they didn't have information on growth because of the COVID years. There's those years we didn't test. So basically, red is your least preferred color, and blue is your highest performance. And with that said, this is what we look like this year. Our chronic absenteeism is orange. It went up from like 12 to 13. Prior to COVID, we were about 5%. And that was even, remember it was orange that year because of the growth. Our suspension rate has always remained pretty, we don't suspend a lot of kids. Our kids are very well behaved. Our teachers and staff do interventions before that happens. Our English learner progress, yay, blue. That means that our English learner kids have shown great growth from 2022 to 23. Our language arts, it's at yellow. This is going to be misleading though. You get part of your color on what's called status, how well you did on the test. And then it also is, the color's also affected by growth. Both schools are at green in English language arts, but as a district we're at yellow. So I reached out to MCUE's guru, a guy named Dave Dombrowski, who's Mr. Data, and I said, this doesn't make sense. He goes, they use a kind of a matrix, and you go down to like what the status is. So X% of your kids are at, at standard. But then you look the year, did they go down a percent, over a percent? Did they stay the same? And so even though we have two greens at both sites, we're at a yellow there. Math is our issue, and it's not an issue at Spreckels. Spreckels dashboard is very, very blue and green. Buena Vista's math scores are a concern. It's something that Kristen's taken on from day one. We adopted a new curriculum, iReady. It's much more aligned, closely aligned. We've increased our intervention services for math kids, but still we're not really moving the needle, which is concerning. But it's also a statewide trend, especially in math. Post-COVID, math kids aren't responding. We did some damage.
They're catching up.
Yep. And then the other ones are basically local, and what a lot of those are, for example, how many teachers are fully credentialed? Do all your kids have instructional materials? A lot of it's surveys I do with the principals. So if you go to the next one.
Wait, can you do the math for me? On the chronic absenteeism, how many actual kids are we talking about?
So 13% of 1,000, or less than 1,000, so about 120, 110.
Wow.
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a lot. Too many.
Yeah.
And if you take a look, it breaks it down by subgroup as well. And I've been thinking about this. I honestly think that I feel like it was schools, states' fault, and this is just my 2 cents, is that we sent the message during COVID that it's not critical to be in school every day. If you're sick, you're out for 5, you're out for 10, right? And now we have to completely change that message again, because that's what we pretty much told parents, right? They could be gone for 10 days. I realize it was a pandemic, but I think adjusting that mindset is going to take time, And so, suspension rate, all of our groups, blue and green. English learning progress. Here you go, Ms. Virarango, take a bow. It's at the blue, and this is why. This is what's called the indicator. Purple is what you want. Purple in 2022, only 11 kids made 1 year or 1 level growth on the LPAC. Last year, 79%. Practically all of our kids made growth on the LPAC. So, and that's really, really good news, because these are kids that have been underserved, and going back a few dashboards ago, they were red or orange, and now they are blue, which is great. English language arts, again, I mentioned at both sites we're at the green, but district-wide, it's because of how much growth. And you take a look, students with disabilities, orange, but that's good news because it was red before, right? Yes, that's good growth. And these are students that are on IEPs. By disability don't score well on certain tests. So that's actually something I view as like we moved them a level. So congrats. And you could read the rest for yourself. If you ever go to the dashboard and you go to the equity report, it gets very, very specific if you like data. And then math, this is where the work, we've identified this, we're working on it, and now the frustration, what do we do differently? What do we do more? Because again, we're not getting the growth that our time says we should get. Yeah. And then the CAS this is how they determine the ELA and the math color. It's how many kids are met or exceeded standard. On the CASP, it's a 4, 3, 2, 1. So if a student's at 3 or 4, that's where it would be at standard or exceeding. And we've actually been trending post-COVID in the right direction. When our first LCAP after COVID, these were our 3-year goals. And that was at 2% growth per year. So we're on track in ELA to get to what we wanted them to do, go up to a year. Last year we went up 2 in math, and then we went back 2. So we're, again, it's going to take some work. Yeah. And this is by school site. And again, Spreckels, except for chronic absenteeism, is all blue and green. And BV, chronic absenteeism and math is the one that's glaring. And again, that's not a district isolated problem. It's a state and county problem. It's I don't know, does anybody brain research? Do you have any theories about why math got hit?
I got a lot of theories. The chronic absenteeism, though, and the mathematics are both at BV and not.
Well, chronic absenteeism at Spreckels was also at Orange, I believe. Can you go back one? Yeah.
Okay.
So this is, because we're the same families and the same number of absences usually.
Yeah.
So this came out December 15th. This is public for parents if they want to go to it. It is, it's a click into our report card of how we're doing. Again, a lot of areas that we're doing really well, and we have some work to do in others.
Yeah. They're all funny measures because you have the actual scores and then you have whether or not they're making progress. So we had great progress in the English learner progress this year, and unless you can make them all improve another level,
That's exactly right.
and it's probably not measurable. I mean, we only measure them up to a certain point. We're going to see something in the yellow in that one
That's
next year.
exactly right. Next year, with the same scores, which are great, the color's not going to be blue.
Yeah. So it's just weird. Okay, thanks. Any questions about the dashboard? She's not touching her button. We already did the fundraiser plan. Schedule budget study session. So, you have a proposal?
Yeah, so a couple things need to happen. The governor's January budget, Bernard, a couple other groups will weigh in on that. That will take a while. So I would shoot for maybe early, mid-February. We want to invite our labor partners, so I would pick a time and day that they could join us.
Is this outside the workday then?
What's that?
Would this be outside their workday?
Well, I think it would be an invitation for whoever would want to show.
Will they be released to come to this during the day?
We
Or
could.
will this be outside the employees' work days?
Releasing them is fine as long as once the kids are home and safe. So we'd have to do something like post like 3:30 or 4.
Okay, so do you have a proposal on when to do this?
Whatever works for your calendars. If you want to go, if you like the Thursdays, if they work for everybody, we could do a Thursday. We could start earlier. We could do a Thursday at 4. We could do a Thursday at 7. And also, I guess, to help me and Bernard, mostly Bernard, prepare what types of information would you like to see there?
Okay, let's work on time first.
Okay.
So Bernard, we're going to have a firm bud. When do you want to do this? End of January? Last Thursday in January? What are you suggesting?
I think maybe that first full week of
February.
might be.
So like the 8th?
Okay.
We have a board meeting. No. Okay.
In Sacramento.
Okay. The first is we have a board meeting on the 1st. Do you have any good days that week?
Yeah, just not Thursday.
Okay.
Monday's good?
Monday the 5th?
Yep.
The rest of you guys?
Fine with me.
The 6th, we're talking about late afternoon, eh?
I can't do after 4.
After 4 now?
Well, I'll have to be at class at 4, so I can't do the 5th. I can't do the 5th.
So we're moving on.
6th?
I can do the 6th.
We can do the 6th.
So 3:30 is the earliest?
Is bad one for you? 6 works? Okay. Whatever works for you guys. I would say 4 is probably, when the bus drivers, when you guys get back about 4?
I'm here a little bit after 4, but yeah.
How about like 4:30? 4:30 be? Okay, how about 4:30?
I can do 4:30 on the 7th. I can't do Mondays and Tuesdays.
Are we talking about the 6th? Or are we talking about
7th.
Or the 7th, no.
She just said she could do 4:30 on the 7th.
You just let me know what day it is, and I'll let you know if I can come. I give it.
4:30 on the 7th?
Peter, you good?
Okay.
I'm open the whole week.
Okay.
If I may,
Yes.
if we're looking at February 7th,
Yes?
that's an early release day for the teachers.
Oh.
So we may be able to move it earlier in the day and not have it be outside of the teacher's work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 4:30 on the 7th?
I have to leave at 5:45.
Okay.
What time should we get back on Wednesday? Me, I'm usually back by 3. Can you do it earlier?
On Wednesdays? We kick off at 3:30 then. That gives a couple hours. 3:30 on.
6 o'clock Zoom.
Okay.
So
Okay. If we go 3:30, gives us just 2
Okay.
hours. All right. 3:30 on the 7th. Is that a motion?
Yeah. Somebody want to make that a motion?
yes,
Second?
moved. I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 401. We got a date and a time.
And now the what?
Okay, now the what? Any particular things that we want to see?
At the study session?
Yeah,
It's about budget, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But any particular things? I mean, we want to look at different kinds of scenarios.
And wait to see what the governor has to say.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
We're going to send out our intent to return to our students earlier to see what we are projecting. Because class configuration will be a big part of this conversation if we're talking about, well, you know. So we'll have that information too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I would see it as, you know, you open with kind of, this is kind of the state of things, the feedback on the governor's budget, and then get into kind of particulars, look at revenue items, look at expenditures, and then what's it all mean, and that's where you start getting into,
Yeah.
you know, where are we gonna make, because if we can't make our revenues go up, then we have to make our expenses go down.
Yeah.
It's, yeah,
That's
and
when it gets fun.
it's raising class sizes, it's cutting programs, and that there's only a couple ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of
Yeah.
ways to do it.
So yeah, we're hoping that we, you know, you've looked at those scenarios and have some proposals for us.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, is that what you were looking for?
That's perfect, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody want to pull out any of the consent items?
Motion to approve consent.
Thank you. Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 401. We've got the future agenda items. I think we should all have a New Year's resolution to maximize our microphone use so that even the principals have to step up to the mic and we have to press our buttons. Motion to adjourn?
Not a metaphor there. So moved.
Thanks. All in favor, say aye. Motion passes 401.
See you, Steve.
Okay, we're done.
We're done. Thank you. First one of the year. Smooth.
Almost made 8.